Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Dual Screens podcast. I'm one of three of your hosts this week. I'm Stephen Fontana, and with me, as always, he's in the other box, and he's my brethren from another methrin. He's Andy Asimakis. How are you, Andy?
I don't fantasize about not being myself most of the time, but I think if I could be anything in the world, it would be a vampire. I think.
Well, you do suck.
I do a lot.
You
a
are-
lot. Just a literal fact.
I'm sorry. Is this are you making a gay joke right now about yourself? Is that what's
no?
happening?
I mean, I could.
Or because I was not going for that
that's a fun
part.
side effect of what I'm trying to say. But I think just being a vamp, like
I
don't know.
You are ambidextrous.
It's some dope ass shit. It's some dope ass shit.
My other brethren from another methrin. He is the third member of the Dual Screens team, and he is the reason why I am currently addicted to vrising. He's Taylor Allen, aka It's Purger. It's Purger. What's going on, buddy?
Steve,
how are you?
I need to address something with you.
Please undress something with me.
That being the bucket that you're drinking ice water out of right now.
Yes, it's
Why?
It is hot, and this is my half-size bucket.
It's actually a bucket of sweat.
Yesterday it was 92 degrees in Brooklyn, New York. Today was 75, and it's raining, so it's a little better. But man, was I dehydrated after yesterday. So I had a double-size bucket yesterday when I was streaming. Today I went with the I don't know how many quarts.
The half bucket.
They're 48 ounces. I'm going with the 48 ouncer. And with us this week is
He's
Jeremy.
still here.
Jeremy, aka Bearson, fielding the community manager, over at Stunlock Studios, developer of vrising, a gothic multiplayer survival game. Hello, Jeremy. Welcome to the show.
Hi, it's really good to be here. I'm super glad Taylor brought up that bucket thing because I was really
Were you
wondering
concerned?
about it. I thought it was maybe just a normal thing, and I was the strange one for thinking that the bucket is
No.
super weird. But I'm glad it's not just me. And also,
Listen,
it's very nice to be
do I
here.
want to have to get up in the middle of the show
No, I
and
agree
refill
completely.
my beverage? No, I don't want to do that.
Aren't you always going on about drinking during a podcast? That's all you've been doing lately is drinking on the show.
No.
I've
I
noticed
believe.
it.
So here's what I believe. I take the morning radio show approach to a podcast.
Sure.
Where we're not doing a radio drama, we're not acting, we're not performing, we're chilling, we're hanging out, we're entertaining. If you need to take a swig of some water, please.
And I
take a swig of
totally
water.
agree with that.
If you gotta let one fart, you know what I mean? Just let one out. It's okay.
You gotta like moisten the vocal cords.
I'm
Yeah,
saying
you gotta keep things going. What?
You've harped about the drinking and then not doing so.
No, this is what I don't want. You ready? That's what I don't want to happen. That's what I don't want to happen. But you know what? It is delicious, ladies and gentlemen. And you know what else is delicious? Blood.
This show, I got a
which
question.
is
Let's
what
go.
vrising is all about. It is just a bloody affair about sucking blood, drinking blood, harnessing blood, and building a castle with blood, and just pulverizing hearts and things to make blood.
Blood moons
Rising. So much blood. And I don't even know where to start. So actually, Andy, I'm skipping you. You don't get to start.
No, I get to start.
I think our guest Dual Screens host should start.
What kind of bullshit or horseshit is this? I didn't approve this decision.
That's the thing about being a 50-50 partner in this, buddy.
Well, I feel like you're going to ask a serious question, Taylor.
Taylor? No, he's not.
Yeah.
No,
Oh.
I think he is.
Okay.
I
All right.
was, but...
Okay, if you are, then Andy, please give us the
Andy,
lead-off
go
question.
ahead.
Please set the tone.
It's
The
a
tone
very-
is not
it's-
set yet, so please,
It's
by all means.
it's a very simple question.
Okay.
For Mr. Jeremy here. Jeremy, why does your game suck so good?
Oh, I see. It's a pun.
Because
It's a pun.
we're really into doing vampire stuff, man.
Yeah.
Because like every single part of the game, we like stopped and said like, hey, how can I make this more vampire like? And very often, I think you'll find the answer to that is make stuff blood related. There's actually definitely a point, like I would say several points, because so I'm the only native English speaker in the studio. Most everyone is Swedish.
Oh, okay.
And I am involved in a lot of like the naming of things sometimes. Like if they're like, hey, we need a cool name for this, but we don't know a ton of English words. What does Jeremy think? The amount of things that we had to kind of adjust around being called blood something, blood altar. The castle heart was originally called Bloodwell, but we changed it because we have too many things with blood in the name.
Castle Heart is pretty dope.
Castle Heart is a really.
The-
I
it's-
didn't come up with that one for the record.
It
It's
seems
really good.
like this is a more of what a community manager does, like in the standard resume. Like you're about like outreach and getting the game across to people, getting more eyeballs. This is
Yeah.
like you're involved on some deeper level.
A
with the
little bit.
actual-
Well,
yeah.
we're like a small studio, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wears many hats. When you join, whatever you can do, you will probably end up doing at some point. Whatever you can physically do, you will probably end up doing at some point. So, yeah. And I'm really happy to help with that sort of stuff because I'm a big nerd. I'm a big lore nerd, especially. I play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons.
Hell yeah.
And I'm really happy to contribute anything fantasy-wise to make the world feel darker and spookier and a little cornier. Honestly, I think things should be more proudly corny, and what better to do that with vampires?
Speaking my language right now, dude.
So before we kick it over to Taylor, I just want to do like for our listeners who don't know what vrising is, Jeremy, I'm going to give you the floor here to do what you do. And I want you to explain to our listeners and viewers, what is vrising?
Okay, vrising is a dark fantasy survival vampire game. It is an action RPG. It has a WASD movement. For those of you who are not familiar, that's no click to move. That's no. It's you're using your keyboard to manually control every single movement that your character does. We have skill shots, which means that you have abilities, you have spells and stuff, and you aim them. You have to point out where they're going, which you can imagine can be a little bit difficult to do while you're moving around at the same time with your WASD movement. But you know what? When you pick it up, it feels really, really, really good. It feels like you have total control of what's going on. So we take that and we put it in sort of a survival situation, and then we flip that on its head by making pretty much everything that you normally do in a survival thing opposite. Nighttime is good. Staying out of the sun is good. You are the monster, and you are hunting the people. And that's kind of what vrising is all about. It's about building yourself up and becoming, like, living that vampire fantasy. Building a big castle, drinking lots of blood, becoming more powerful, and basically conquering Vardoron.
I think we found the reason why Taylor finally likes a survival game, because it's the anti-survival game.
Yeah. So
yeah, in a lot of ways.
I told you before the show started, I wrote an article, kind of like a preview about vrising on our site. And it's titled, "I hate survival games and I love vrising." I cannot begin to tell you how much money I've spent on every survival game out there. I've played Ark, I've played Conan, Minecraft, like Valheim, all of them, none of them click. I play them for 45 minutes and I absolutely hate them. Like the resource gathering and stuff like that is just like a not very fun loop for me. I understand why it's appealing to people, but like I just don't enjoy it. I don't managing like hunger and thirst and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But for whatever reason, like vrising just clicked with me. And it was like finally that survival game that I was like, yes, this is the one that I've wanted from like all of these other ones that I've bought and then refunded on Steam multiple times. And I think what you said about it being the antithesis of a survival game is exactly why. Where did like the idea of this vampire survival kind of begin? Like, was it primarily a survival game to begin with, or did you want to make a badass vampire game and you added the survival elements to it?
All right, so this is more of like a sort of story I have to tell because I've only been with the company for about a year. I've been really familiar with Stunlock for a long time, and I actually worked with them back in 2018. But I've only been like on this project and working with them for about a year. But I've familiar with the designers, and I've heard this story about a trillion times, which is that basically after our last game, Battle Right, which is a strictly queue up PvP game, and then also there's Battle Royale, which is a strict queue up PvP game, and Dead on Epidemic, a PvP game with a little bit of PvE, and before that, Bloodline Champions, strict PvP game. They really just wanted to do something completely new and completely different that was not just a PvP game. They want to do, and they found survival was like really interesting. People in the studio just kind of liked it. They kind of wanted to try it out. They were interested in it. And they were kind of playing around with ideas. There's a lot of like prototyping and just trying to like find something they felt was good, feel out something good. and something just clicked with the vampire thing. And it wasn't a situation where it was like, I saw Castlevania and I wanted to be big bad Dracula or anything like that. The story they keep telling me is this image that they had of a guy like climbing out of a crypt, like climbing out of his coffin, and just picking up a rat and just getting into it and just tearing into this rat. And man, what a like survival feeling that is, right? Like you just like you're a vampire, but also sort of brought low into this situation where you're eating a rat. And that's like the rising from your crypt and like finding your way back to power. I feel like that moment kind of exemplifies that a lot. And something about that just clicked.
Vampire hobo sets at that point.
Yeah.
I really want to get like a rat skin outfit at some point, like a real grimy looking vampire.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons why this hits for me as well. I'm not a big survival guy either, but I like community building. And right now I'm playing on a server with about 6 other people, and we're all kind of our individual vampires, but we're sharing this world together. We're going on runs to hunt these humans together. We're building our castles. We're making them really cool, unique. We have servants' quarters and all this stuff. And you could see yourself going from this lowly little vampire that is struggling. You don't really struggle that mightily in the beginning, because I feel like you don't have to do anything crazy in the beginning. Like a game like Don't Starve, you could die in the first 25 minutes. Like the first time nightfall hits, and you're like, oh Jesus, I'm not prepared for this, whatever's about to hit me. But I feel like you're always prepared. You're always able to survive. You're always able to get through the day cycle. You're always able to gather enough resources to kind of hit that next point. But the other thing that you do really interesting is you tie resources or recipes or of different abilities to your hunts. So you're not just looking for the next cave that has this cool mineral in it. You're looking for a certain creature, or like the alpha wolf, or you're looking for this armorer so that you can slay him, drink his V blood, and then you'll unlock a new thing that you can do in your castle. And I think that has a really good bacon at the end of the stick. Fuck carrots, it's bacon. At the end of the stick to really keep you going.
Yeah, I think it's one thing that the lead designer, Shelt, or Martin, as other people in his life call him, he mentioned that when they're designing systems, they want every system to kind of serve every aspect of play. Like you don't want to have just like you hunt the V-Bloods because you want to do the PvE thing, and then like the crafting is something completely separate, the building is something completely separate. They wanted all these systems kind of be intertwined, so they all kind of serve each other and you want to interact with all of them. And at the same time, it's people who are mainly into building will still find something satisfying out of going and hunting down these V-Bloods. Every bit should kind of serve everything. You're never doing something, at least usually not, doing something that you don't want to do so that you can do something else you do want to do later. It all kind of feels satisfying together. At least that's the idea. And I'm glad that's coming across.
Oh, yeah, it totally hits. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of things coming across, first of all, thank you for making the term V-blood socially acceptable, because that term it conjures up other things. But
I made a social post once that was what does V-blood stand for? No, wrong answers only. And it's my favorite social post I've probably ever done, and it didn't hit. It made me very sad. It was during the time where less people knew about our game.
Well, on that note, 1.5 million players in the span of, I want to say, it's been 2 weeks since early access, or something around that point. And there are other games, they weren't breakout hits. Like, I never heard of this other game you said, Battle Right. What was it called? You mentioned before.
Yeah, Battle Right.
Never heard of that in my whole life, I have to admit. And Epidemic, the Dead Island game, that was mediocre as shit. I'm just gonna say it. But this one, I feel like it really connected. Like it just came out like all guns blazing. What is that like, seeing this huge feedback and just embracing of this game like so early? And there's a huge fan base already building behind it, just thirsty for more.
Well, okay,
Of
so
the
another
V
thing
blood.
that I've in my talks with, because like basically towards the end of the first week, I had like my first like real interview coming up, and I wanted to like do a sort of check-in. I was actually in the office. I normally work remotely. I live in Florida, but they had me in the office for the week before and then the week after lunch. So I was in Sweden. I was in the office, and I sort of like went around kind of trying to do a check with as many of like the POs, like the big time folks, as I could, to try to get a feel for how everyone was sort of doing and where everyone was at, because you know things were going crazy, and like it was pretty jarring for everyone. And one thing that he said that really stuck with me was that he can't design a game for other people. Like he can't design a game for another person and know exactly what they're going to feel and know exactly what they're going to want. He has to design things that he thinks is fun, and like systems that he thinks is fun. So even though he isn't necessarily like a 3,000 hour survival game player, he can go into this genre and experiment and try to make things as long as he feels like they're going to be fun. And that's the thing, is you put together something you feel is fun and you think is fun and you enjoy and you love, and every single person in that studio, like we are so lucky because every single person holds themselves accountable and wants their own work to be great. And like really pushes to make whatever they do something they can be proud of. And when that all comes together and you put it out, you don't know how people are going to take it. Like you can never know.
Right.
And people really liked it. And that's what's so cool about it, is you're putting out something that you love and then they also love it. And you connect in that moment, like with all those people that got so into it. You're like, and it's kind of mind breaking a little bit to you know, feel that. I still probably hasn't hit me. I've just been so busy. I had the moment to think.
Yeah, and also
but-
not being genre veterans either. This is new territory for your studio. This is not like you
Yeah.
have like the experience that you've brought with you with this particular playstyle. This is a new ball game. It's experimental in a lot of ways, and it's come across and hit in a massive way. That must feel like hugely satisfying on so many levels.
It's pretty nice. It's really good. People love our game. I never imagined it would be this big. This is my first game release. This is my first time being a community manager during a game release, and it's been pretty crazy. I was going into this game release thinking like, whoa, how crazy would it be if like we go into early access and we have like a 20K player peak? That would be crazy. That would be insane for my first game.
Little did he know.
Little did he know. I mean,
Still
Battle
top
Rights-
10. Still top 10 on Steam charts as
Right
of
now.
right now.
Damn.
By the
God
way.
damn.
that's fantastic.
That is
Yeah.
incredible, guys.
And I don't expect those numbers to hold forever, because, you know, we're new, and also there's a lot of people who are going to just enjoy the PvE and they're going to stop playing, and that's okay. We will have stuff for them later. They will come back, I hope. You know.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that a little bit, because like at this point in it is early access. Let's make sure people understand that like this is not something that, you know, is a fully, I mean, it is really well put together. It's a full experience, but it's not the final vision. And right now I'm about 10.5 hours. I played 3 days, 3 different nights. I'm 10.5 hours. I just unlocked my final piece of technology that is available to me, at least what I believe is available to me in the early access build of this game. So I feel like I'm nearing the end of what is available to me in early access. What is the plan going forward to keeping this on the top of people's to play list? Is there a roadmap that is a little bit more accelerated due to the fact that there are 1.5 million people that played this within the first 2 weeks, or is there a slower plan? Like what can you tell us a little bit about that?
You in 10 hours you got to what you're pretty sure is the end?
And not the end,
fast.
but what I perceive as the last piece of that I could unlock, like I forget how it's explained, like recipes or whatever, that technology where you go into your workbench or your research desk. I have all of that unlocked. So now I'm just trying to find resources to make all of the things I've unlocked. I haven't made everything yet,
Okay.
but I can.
What's the last? Can you tell me what's the last like V Blood boss you've killed?
The last one I killed was I'm currently working on the special rat one because I didn't realize
Okay.
how you get it. And then there's 2 that I've unlocked. My gear score or
Okay.
whatever is like 42, I think, or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're going to be very pleased in the near future.
Well, I'm very, cool. No, I mean that's great. It's just like when I unlocked that last little square, I was like, oh, okay, that was the loop I was enjoying at the time.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, well,
Yeah.
what am I going to be doing now?
Yeah.
So without spoiling, can you go into a little bit of like what
Sure,
players
yeah,
can expect as they pour dozen or so
Yeah,
hours in?
absolutely. In terms of like putting an exact roadmap down, that's something that we kind of want to avoid doing because, like Andreas said, we are not veterans of this field of like the survival. This is our first survival game, and this is the first game that we've made of like this, frankly, insane scope for the size of our studio.
Okay.
And one of the really cool things about it is that unlike in Battlerite, where it was basically like it was a team arena brawler. It was like champions fighting champions, like a League of Legends team fight, but condensed just to the team fight part. We could only really just make champions for that. We could put out new maps for that, and that was pretty much it. There wasn't like a lot of other things you could do. In this game, there is an infinite amount of ways.
I was
for us
really
to
hoping
expand
that
on
word
this
would come out of
content.
your mouth. Like,
Yeah.
I was hoping that was going to be
Guys.
the word.
We have these systems in place, right? Like we have these like servant systems, and we have the castle building, and we have raiding mechanics, and we have the V Bloods and areas to explore and things to unlock. And these are all things that exist, but in this, a lot of people have said like, oh man, like this didn't have to be early access. This could have been a full game, which from our perspective is insane. Absolutely not the case. This had to be an early access game because everything that we've got out right now is it's good, it's cohesive, it's very basic versions of the systems we want, but we want these systems to be much more fleshed out, much more interesting, and interweave much more. So moving beyond this, like this first sort of month or so, like we're kind of working on bug fixing and a little bit of balancing and making sure the game is in a nice state for everyone, so that when we move into content production, which we are still doing a little of already, but when we move more heavily into content production, we want people to be able to, chill and be happy for like, a little bit. This is a survival game, and it is like a very large scope. So when we put content out, we want it to be kind of like a chunky amount of content, like a good amount of stuff.
Yeah.
For you to really chew on and really expand on and really be worth playing through everything again.
None of this micro content
Because-
shit.
There's got to be small updates, because like in a lot of the times when you do like an update to this, you're gonna have to update the map. We're gonna be like redoing parts of maps and stuff like that to make it more interesting, to add more points of interest, to make it more efficient, to make it better to build in. Like we have lots of ways we can do that, but right now we can't edit the map because that'll wipe everyone's worlds, and we don't want to do that. We want, if there's going to be a world wipe situation where to update the game you're going to have to wipe your world, we want there to be a worthwhile amount of content to justify that. So to answer the question of like what we're going to be doing in the future, everything. we're going to be expanding on everything. There's so many small things that are in the game that are really cool that we need more of. Like not to spoil anything, but there is like a sort of mini boss that drops a recipe that you can learn, and it's like the only thing like it in the game. We need more of those. Like there are places where like events happen, where like things start exploding, or monsters actively go in and interact with other monsters and like raid places like that, and more places would be really cool. We need more things to make the world feel alive, and there are parts of the world we're really not happy with right now that we really want to kind of iterate on and expand on and make better. So very long answer, but yeah, we have a lot of stuff we want to work on.
Man, and I'm just happy drinking bear blood all day long. This guy's got a whole massive
Oh.
content plan for me.
I wish you could have picked any other animal.
Oh,
Taylor, you're quiet. Hit us
Yeah,
up-
good.
hit us up with
I
some
that
stuff.
was
actually-
good.
I wanted to know whose fucking idea it was to put Tristan the Vampire Hunter in the opening area.
I love Tristan the Vampire Hunter
Like,
so
what the
much.
fuck?
He's one of my favorite blood units.
I'm not kidding. I ran into him probably 25 minutes into my very first playthrough. Come out into the open. I'm still trying to like get the animal pelts and stuff. I'm just like wandering around trying to figure out the systems and stuff. And I see this dude, and it's just fucking giant red skull over his head, and he destroys me.
Yeah.
Like,
I love that he walks through, I think it's the logging camp,
uh-huh.
which is one of the first V-Bloods you fight, like one of the first ones you can track and fight. And he walks straight to that camp.
And
I don't
slowly.
know who, yeah, very slowly. And I don't know who designed that exact path, but I want to give him a hug. It's so good. I love the fact that they're fairly early on in the game, there's this extremely dangerous vampire hunter that you run into that's just walking around, and he just completely crushes you.
that you won't even come close to being able to kill for another dozen plus hours.
Yeah, it's a while before you even become remotely formidable to him.
Yeah.
But what's cool about him, what I really love about his design, one, he shows up early if you're unlucky, and he is terrifying. I love the idea of there being a terrifying vampire hunter. I think it's cool. Like, you should have threats like that.
Yeah.
And like, things like, the golems and the Trents and stuff, like, you should be presented with challenges that make you go, I need to run from this, and create sort of those dynamic like player moments.
It's
that
like a
you
rivalry
really-
almost. Like a rivalry
Yeah.
starts where you're like, this motherfucker, wait until
Exactly.
I have some powers and a sword that could actually do something. And I am going to get you, sir.
But when you do, it's so satisfying because the things he gives you, like the V-Blood abilities he gives you, are like a massive weight off progression wise. Like, it feels so good to be able to, the abilities he gives you are so good.
Mhm.
that it
It's-
really takes a huge weight off.
I
And it
just love
feels
how
rewarding.
I love how you can't really enjoy being a badass vampire. Then fucking Van Helsing shows up like
Yeah. Yeah.
2 minutes into the game. But that's great. It really sets the tone. Like, for being an immortal, like fearsome creature, you
Mhm.
are vulnerable.
Yeah.
And not just to sunlight or silver. The world is actively hunting you down, and it's that the survival mentality kicks in at that point, and it really just
Yeah.
makes the whole package.
I mentioned I'm the native English speaker and a huge nerd. So I actually wrote the voice lines for the V-Bloods.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Shit.
and for Tristan in particular, I just tried to write the edgiest stuff I possibly could, like painfully edgy.
Yeah.
Was what I was going for with every one of his
I
lines.
could have lent you my like high school diary. You could have pulled some shit from that.
No, it's okay. I was sad in middle school. I know what it's like. Why just laughing at me?
I love it. Yeah. I mean, most of us nerds, like, I was horribly depressed all throughout junior high and high school.
Nobody had a good time in middle school. It's just a fact.
You are spot
Yeah.
on, sir.
But now you're behind like a multi-million-dollar selling game, so it's like, suck it. Literally.
Literally, yeah.
There are going to be so many vampire puns in
I'm
the title
surprised
of this
we've kept
episode,
it
in
to a
the-
minimum so far.
Yeah.
I'm hoping this time around. I'm hoping this time around my Valentine's Day social post. It's Valentine's Day. Just suck it. Is cleared. By that time, people will be desensitized enough.
We'll
that I
figure.
could
Yeah,
probably
I
land
think
that line.
you'll have a few people that will back you up on that
That's
one.
really good.
Appreciate that.
I do
go ahead.
love like how much you guys leaned into like being a vampire though. You mentioned like, that image of, coming out of your crypt and like sucking on a rat to like stay alive. One of the things that I highlighted in my preview was the fact that I didn't realize as I first come out of the crypt and I'm walking through the grove of trees in the beautiful sunlight that is going to fucking kill me very quickly. And then finding silver a couple hours later and like taking damage over time as I'm like holding this silver. Where are like some of the areas that you guys had to like do a double take and make sure that it was like vampire enough,
There was definitely a sort of a specific moment, or maybe not a specific moment, but because it happened kind of a lot. But like there were moments during like our own like internal playtesting during like development where we'd go like, all right, but like, how do I make this more vampire? Like this just sort of feels like a survival game. I don't
besides
really feel
just
like a vampire.
Calling
sometimes.
Something bloody something. Right.
Yeah, aside from that. And not everything had permanent names yet, so we didn't even really have that. There's just a lot of like, I should be more scared of the sun. The sun doesn't hurt enough. Like because the sun like really hurts.
Oh yeah.
And there were times where it wasn't so bad, or like it kind of came on too easily, or there was like for a while, if you moved into the shadow at all, like your sort of buildup of how long it is until the sun starts burning you would just drop off completely. So if you were just like walking down the road, as long as there's like some trees nearby, you didn't even have to think about it. You just like walk through. It was like no problem. But so making the sun more annoying definitely was something that
the animation and sound go a long way to that too, because it's like you could hear your flesh burning. You're like, it's like crackling bacon. You're like, oh shit, I gotta get out of this sun.
I personally do think that the VFX people and the sound people really killed it. Like really, it was super important that they like did that right, and they really nailed it. I think that sort of thing goes overlooked a lot of the time. One thing I really liked about one thing that made me a huge fan of Stunlock before I was a part of the studio was in Battle Right, the abilities really felt like you were swinging them. Like it really felt like you were throwing a fireball, and you really felt when it hit. Like the sound and everything was just so crisp, and so much attention was paid to that. And they definitely brought that into this project. Like the attention to detail is super important. But yeah, we thought about how to be more vampire-y basically at every step. Tie more stuff into drinking blood, make more things about, actually having issues with things. Like the problems you run into should be vampire problems, not normal person problems.
There's also a very vampire-centric vanity here too. Like the decorations, the paintings, just the architecture that you're building your castle. You're so pompous. You're just such a pompous just jerk off.
That's vampire shit, dude.
But that's totally vampire. It's just like, here's where I keep my slaves. Here's where
Have you watched any Underworld movie ever?
Here's my 40-foot doors that are in my entire castle.
I'm gonna put up my green and violet torches, and my gigantic steel golden brazier.
Yeah, it's just it's like if you can just lay that big vampire cock on the table to the rest of the villagers, which actually confuses me a little bit, because you would think that
what about vampire cock do you find confusing?
Tell me more.
We're building. There are 6 or 7 vampires in our little world, where all our castles are built pretty close to each other. Not like on my first one was on top of somebody else basically, and I was like, no, I need more space. So I collapsed it. I brought it down a little bit, but like all of these castles and these absolutely horrifying vampires sprung up out of nowhere, and the villagers are like surprised that there's these vampires, and they will not attack my castle. They just won't. They just won't do it yet. And I'm like, why aren't they have their pitchforks and torches?
One thing that I think is actually really cool about the general like direction that I was getting, because like in the voice lines, there was a point where they were sort of like, "What the hell is this?" Like they were like, "What are you?" Because like they haven't seen vampires in a very long time. Nobody really. It's been like 800 years. Most people don't know what they look like on sight. So I'm not sure if it plays out in them now or if it was kind of edited out, but it sort of started as like everyone's just like, whatever you are, I'm gonna kill you. But like
That's
later
fair.
on, in like later areas, they would start to recognize you because the idea is that you've been around a little while, and now people sort of know what's going on. So like basically the recognition of what you are would start to sort of permeate the world and like the voice lines. Even like there is a certain villager voice line where they literally shout like vampires and they like run off and they like warn everyone that there are vampires there. There is not currently anything in game in which villagers or whatever will pick up their pitchforks and come to attack you, but I promise you it's something we're always thinking about. Like everyone wants.
Get that
Everyone wants
vrising
raids.
tower defense mode.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
mean,
the townspeople are restless. Prepare your defense. Like, and you just hear
Something like that.
like there's like a little meter that's just rising. It's like the group of people. You could go meet them on the street and try and kill them, but like they're coming. There's like 40 of them.
yeah. Well, I think I mean, in terms of just like the vampire fantasy, like you need that, right? Like
Right.
you want that. You want the townspeople to come and try and burn your castle down.
Right.
You
Yes.
need it. But also, I think it's super important that we do something like that at some point. That's one way we expand on the game because in a PvE sense, like for people who aren't like super into PvP, there really is no threat to your castle. There really is almost no reason to have walls except for it being annoying when wolves are just like all up in your business.
Well, and sunlight. You
wanting a
want
roof,
the
yeah.
ceiling. Yeah, it's the
You want
sunlight.
a roof. But like realistically, you could toss up a Miss Brazier. Like who needs bones for anything? But
I mean,
yeah, it also it's just fun to have.
I
a
need
castle.
bones.
Like I get that.
I can't just not have bones, man. I need bones.
Boneless vampires. No, it's you should be sort of rewarded for building like a cool defensive castle, and like it should be. You should have to defend it. Like
I want to be able to
that'd
like.
be so cool.
I want to be able to kidnap more people, and maybe not make them servants, but just hang them upside down and make them blood banks, and just be like slice. Thank you. I could go out in the world now.
I have no comment on this.
Please
but
don't.
Steve,
I
you
have
need
to
to play
record-
the game more, man.
For the record, I'm not gonna.
I mean, at 10 hours deep, he's played the whole game apparently. So he
I
knows.
didn't say that. I said
I
I
loved it.
unlocked
I loved
what
it.
is.
I've
before
unlocked it
me.
all.
That is what I
Everything.
said. There's no blank squares for me to unlock. Is all I'm saying.
I do, but for the record, I can't say that sort of thing is necessarily the next thing we're working on, or if that is going to be a thing before release, or maybe that's a thing we work on after release. Because to be clear, our final vision of the game is not where we stop. Like there is so many places to keep taking it after that. So we're going to
Love
keep
that.
expanding it after that.
I love that.
But obviously right now we're just focused on getting to release and
I'm getting
releasing a
no
complete
Vamp Sky, no Vamp Sky,
yeah.
but it launched well. It launched in good shape. That's what
Yeah.
that's what I'm excited for.
You know,
It
that
looks
was one
done
thing we were
at
telling
launch.
ourselves going out of it. We were like, you know what? If everyone hates it, No Man's Sky turned themselves around pretty well, right? Like we could if everyone hates it, we could still turn it around. We'll be fine. It'll be okay.
That's a great like developer like mindset. Like if it sucks, Cyberpunk. And it's like
Well, that's cool. It's kind of a cool thing. There's like redemption stories out there now. So
Right.
Yeah.
when you get to release, as long as you're not saying to yourself like, you know, if nothing happens on release, we have to shut down, which is never the state that we ever want to be in. And we're not in, to be clear. But you know, getting there and going like, you know what, if release doesn't go perfectly, we will still survive. We still will be able to turn this game around. It was nice going into it, knowing that other people had done it.
Well,
And especially in this field, survival. Survival fans are apparently very forgiving.
you
I
kicked ass, so congratulations.
yeah.
Thank you.
I kind of want to ask you, Jeremy, what like the day-to-day looks like for you managing a community of a lot of fans who, because you thought this wouldn't be, you were saying, oh, 20K concurrent, that'd be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a lot more than that
Right.
that you're you know,
And to
kind
be
of-
clear, I prepared for more than that.
Mhm.
Like I set things up, you know, we set up our social channels and like our Discord to handle more
Mhm.
people, expanded the channels massively. So chats would have like a lot of different places to happen.
Mhm.
and be more focused. And like we prepared. We like put a lot of preparation in. And our community team is very small. It's a studio of 36, 37 people. The whole marketing team is like 3 people. I'm one of them.
Wow.
Wow. And it's like me and my coworker Ruth were basically the community team, but she's also working on other stuff like half the time. So not a big numerically huge issue, huge disparity.
It's just like when you see what this game looks like and what it does, there's like opposing ideas, because you would think a game that looks this polished and plays this well has a massive team of brains just spearheading its marketing and its socials, all of it. No, it's like, no, I'm writing dialogue and
no, seriously, we are a small studio, and I think even when people hear like 36, it sounds like big, but it's really not.
It's not at all.
Really not big. Like our tech team is like 8 people, like 7 or 8 people. They're doing everything, and then we got like a design team that's like 4 or 5 people, like and then like we got a bunch of artists, and the numbers, they add up fast as to like how many people is on each team. And I probably am misquoting because I'm just like off the cuff here, but yeah, my day-to-day is changing a lot right now because there's a huge rush at first, and obviously like we're not prepared for this amount of people, the sheer amount of feedback and bug reports and like issues and needing to like moderate on servers and stuff for in the worst cases, and trying to figure out when I have to say no to people, like when I just say like I physically can't do that. Like I have when somebody messages me with a tech support question, I'm not good at tech support, but I still have the urge to help them. Like I still want to help them so badly, and to have to say no sometimes it like hurts. But yeah, just sort of like learning to manage my day-to-day has been a big thing. And it's all been about me kind of trying to spearhead, stopping everything from burning down all the time. And then I've got my coworker Ruth, who's amazing at organizing things, so much better than me in every way at that aspect of being a person. She's
just
been
the
like,
small aspect of being a human. No big deal.
Bit.
She's been we've been working together to like sort of set up systems to better handle this stuff en masse and like really think about how to do this stuff at scale instead of just trying to stay afloat. So while I'm keeping us afloat, she's setting up the system so that in the future it's not so hard to do. And as my time is kind of freeing up over these 2 weeks, I'm sort of getting a better handle on how to do things. And I'm super lucky that like other people from the team, like people from animation, are stepping in to like do community stuff, and like people from and my mods like on my Discord are amazing.
I almost thought you just said your mom. I was like,
Oh.
wait, what?
My mom on the Discord.
I was gonna say, like, it's already
my mom
too,
comes on, scolds people who are mean to me.
it's already too wholesome. But if your moms are involved as well, I can't with that shit. That's just
Jeremy Bear's mom. Taylor, let's get one more question from you before we go into rapid fire.
Yeah, I love like seeing how games kind of like find a, not necessarily a cult following, but how like streamers and things like that can really affect like the growth of a game. And you guys over the last couple of weeks have had some of the biggest streamers in the world, from like Shroud, Lyric, Carnage, Batchild, all like stream the game. What has been like, maybe a cool moment or something that you guys didn't really expect, from like some of these massive streamers?
So one thing is I don't know if I can say this enough. I'm a big nerd. I've been watching Twitch for a long time, and like seeing like every person that I have ever followed on Twitch play the game that I was involved with is pretty insane in and of itself. But there have been like a lot of little moments. There's a streamer right now called CDN, and he is doing like a streamer server with like very specific rules. It's like a PvP server, and they like have rules like you are not allowed to talk outside of game at all. and you have to do all your strategizing, all your talking, all your rating and stuff. All that communication has to happen in game.
Over like the VoIP.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And they're in small groups, so it's leading to them like gathering up and having secret meetings, and people like going rat form and trying to like sneak around and like spy on those meetings. And they're like constantly paranoid, have to like check on and like control information and set up alliances and like do this like all these like elaborate base raid thing. Like it's so many cool things that people are doing with our game.
Rising Big Brother.
Yeah. And like mostly I'm really enjoying seeing like sort of all the little communities that people are building up and stuff like that. I'm just enjoying seeing people play our game and love it. I love that we have someone like, we have like partners, we have like sponsored streamers, like we have ads. Mm-hmm. And I loved like one streamer I watch, we sponsored them to play. And then when they got on to play, they weren't starting for the first time. They already had a server where they were like currently already level 50 and like all their friends were on their server together. Awesome. And they were just like walking us through the castle and showing us all the things they had already built, like stuff like that. Just like, I don't know. There's lots of really great moments. Dope. I can't even process them all.
Well, Jeremy, we're going to set up some more dope moments because it's time to get into rapid fire. This is where
It's actually not, Steven. I'm sorry. I'm hijacking it from you.
Oh, no.
Because I totally forgot.
Oh, no.
That I made a post on Reddit about this interview. And I checked my phone and kind of blew up. So I have questions.
Community questions?
Yeah, I do. I have questions for Jeremy.
Okay.
Yeah. Came prepared.
The more you guys put off this thing that I was, for the record, not told about, called rapid fire, the more stressed I'm getting about it.
No, don't worry.
Listen.
You just stand against the wall. We shoot balls at you, and then we're done.
Remember middle school? It's middle school, the segment.
I was wondering why you guys flew me out here.
Dear diary, everything sucked today. All right, there's a lot. I won't go through all of them, but some juicy ones here that we'll get to. Fun rapid fire. This is gonna go long, I feel, but I don't care. It's been a great show. Let's let it go longer. Why not? Cowboy of Science asks, will vrising be offered on any streaming service, GeForce, Now, Stadia, etc.?
Okay. We have been asked a lot about GeForce Now, and it's something that we are actually talking to NVIDIA about. I don't know how that's going to work out. And when I say that, I mean, I literally have no idea. I have no part in these talks. I have no idea what goes into getting us on there or what sort of like blockers there are for that. So I hope so, because it seems like a lot of people want it. But we're working on it.
Cool. Fair. Zilhaust says, will we be able to sit in chairs? This is a silly one, but important to me.
Yeah, it's important to me too.
I mean, we have a fucking throne. You got to sit in it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can sit in that one, but I would like you to be able to sit in other chairs, and I think everyone wants to be able to sit in chairs.
I mean, that's like the peak vampire decadence, just sitting on a chair and
sitting there with that arm kind of dangling off the side,
God, I love
with a goblet in one hand. Oh man.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The answer to that is it is not currently a priority, but we do want to do it. We have many a times discussed sitting in chairs and how much we want it. We one thing, man, everyone asks, and maybe you guys asked, and I already answered this, but something that surprised us about like how the game was received. I knew that it would be kind of cool with role players, but the amount in which role players have like hopped on this game, I love it. I love it so much. I'm a big role play nerd. I love that stuff.
You don't say.
Yeah. It's only the fifth time I've mentioned it. Yeah, I want to be able to sit in chairs. I'm on that team.
All right. Well, on the topic of chairs, he also asked about
weather updates.
Yes. He asked about a type of decor that rests on tables, like goblets, plates, cards, candles, etc.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll end up just doing. I don't know if we'll just end up doing tables that come like with that stuff pre on it when we make
preset
tables. Yeah, or if we'll add some sort of ability to put stuff on tables. But yeah, that's another thing that we have talked about.
Sir Vaniel asks, what are their thoughts on the server hopping and calls for wipes?
So private servers, which are actually the majority of servers, can wipe all they want. But in terms of official servers, we have been kind of watching and trying to figure out what would be a good time for PvP servers to wipe. Like, we do think that PvP servers especially need to wipe. PvE will probably also have to wipe at some point, but probably only with like a content update. So in terms of PvP servers, we're still trying to figure out what a healthy time for that is. And when we do figure that out, we're gonna obviously let people know pretty well in advance that their stuff is going to explode. So
It's not like surprise you log on the game the next day and everything's fucking gone.
Goddamn new world.
Are there any intentions to adapt, same user by the way, to adapt the durability system?
adapt it.
That's what he says. To adapt the durability system.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, there is a durability system, so maybe
adapt it to what?
Maybe further it down the line or something. I don't know. Make it.
I'll ask him on Reddit. Adapt it to what?
Yeah, if he's asking if we're looking to, if by adapt he means like adjust or like change, we do recognize that there is sort of an area in the end game right now, the end game-ish area where it is kind of too expensive to repair stuff. So that's something that we need to adjust, and we do plan to balance. There's a lot of stuff in the end game that we really need to balance.
These are a pair of just comments. One from Undoing Sin 91. Wagons or sandal bags? We needs them precious.
No, Andy, it's needs them precious.
No, I didn't want to do it. That's why I have you. And then this is a totally like the name Tired Bear says, give me the scarecrow's axe throw ability, please.
Okay, so the first thing with the saddlebags and the wagon, I think that's a cool idea.
Okay, there you go.
For the second one, yeah, I mean, maybe that'd be neat. I mean, we've talked about stuff that things drop that you can learn. Maybe that would be one such thing.
I have a question that was directed towards me. Okay, but who are you and why do we care if you're interviewing them? Fantastic.
I like that because it dunks on kind of both of us at the same time.
Yeah.
Why the fuck are they going on your show and who the hell are you?
Yeah. Another one from Sir Vaniel. Are there plans to make Farbane and Dunley larger with an extra iron mine?
Not that I know of. No. We do plan to like do more with the map and expand on it, but for those areas in particular, I don't know if we plan to adjust the size of them at all. It could happen. Like Cursed Forest used to be like 4 times the size it is now. But it was adjusted down because the feel of the place is supposed to be a sort of like choking, like tangled, sort of like uncomfortably cramped area. So it being so big just kind of didn't make sense. So I don't know. Areas do change in size sometimes. I don't know how much they want to change the size now that it's sort of like out in front of everyone again.
Okay. I Am Sither says, horses, will they remain strong with high damage / cleave and impossible to escape even after knocking them off?
I can sort of tell which side of the horse debate this guy falls on. The way that question was asked.
Kind of made that obvious, didn't he?
I actually do not know what sort of adjustments they plan to do to horses, and it's impossible to escape cleave.
And I think you may have answered this question earlier in the show. Lanknet asks, is there a public roadmap on what they want to accomplish before a 1.0 release? And I think you said everything earlier.
Well, we have sort of we don't have like a set roadmap, but we do have a sort of vision of what we want to do to sort of expand our end game. Like that's one of the main things we want to work on. But like we mentioned earlier, or the elemental of Stunlock mentioned earlier, there are a lot of things we can improve along the way, and sort of prioritizing what we do and deciding what's most important to get done and flesh out the most on our way to getting to that end game spot will depend a lot on sort of the feedback we get from the community. And making a roadmap kind of like locks us down, and like saying we're going to put out specific features, I think locks us down from saying like, okay, like we'll add this specific thing, but maybe partway down the line we discover a solution that solves that and also 2 other things at the same time. But we've already announced that we're doing this one thing, so if we go back on that, everyone will be quite pissed. We never want to have to go back on our word. So yeah, we're not releasing specifics, but we will be keeping people up to date with what we're working on throughout the process.
Let's get 2 more in here before Rapido fire. Shazbot Simulator 2012 asks, is there any plans to make wandering bosses less apt to walking off mid-fight?
Yeah, there is some issue, I think, with like the leashing. So you got to walk this kind of awkward line, because there's some like really awkward cheesy strats where you can kite things forever, and you want them to leash to sort of discourage people from doing that. But also because patrolling units, that leash point is from wherever you aggroed them initially, it isn't quite as easy to intuitively judge when they're going to leash back. Like normally when you're like fighting a boss, you kind of get a feeling, like you're like, I feel like I'm entering that they're going to run away territory when I'm this far away. That's way hard to judge with patrolling units. So I think it definitely feels that way. I'm not sure if it is that way. That's something I'm sure design knows. And if I asked them, they would know a definitive answer to that. But yeah, it's something to look at. If people are frustrated with it, it means there's something wrong with it that we can adjust.
Excellent. And then finally, OMG Green Tea says, I would love to know when they'll fix Castle Blood Essence Drain to help new players find castle spots.
Yeah. That's something definitely worth talking about in terms of like, you don't actually know how people are going to act exactly when you start off, when you introduce a system to them, and especially on this larger scale. So this has been really helpful in us trying to figure out how to make the castle decay system sort of work as intended. Because like the whole idea of it decaying when you don't have blood in it is to sort of let these castles that are going unused fall away and give space for new people to move in. But active people, I think, aren't moving north fast enough and like leaving spaces for new people to join in and get in them. And also castles aren't decaying fast enough, possibly. So yeah, I don't know. It's something that we've passed on internally and we're looking at, and the designers will come up with some sort of solution, I'm sure. Whatever I think they're going to do, they always do something totally sideways that's way better than whatever I thought up. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
All right. Before we get into rapid fire, and to answer that other dude's question, Steven, who are we?
We are the Dual Screens Podcast, the internet's #1 indie developer interview podcast that you've never heard of, probably. We post each and every Friday for your listening pleasure on your podcast service of choice, including our home, podbean.com. And of course, we are on the video version here, is on youtube.com/dualscreens.tv. We also have 2 other podcasts. We have Indies Nuts, our indie news, indie game news previews and reviews podcast. Yeah, I got the reaction I wanted. See, that's what it happens the first time, every time. And that show records live on Thursday nights on twitch.tv/dualscreen streams. And also Taylor is has taken over hosting duties for the Dual Screens Crossplay podcast, which is our general gaming news podcast, which records live also on twitch.tv/dualscreens streams. And of course, you can find them on our YouTube channel as well. And you could go to dualscreens.com for all of your fun stuff. And if you want to support us with your hard-earned dollar bills, y'all, you can go to patreon.com/NDS podcast, just like our Patreon producers, Colton the Apprentice Nestler and FNH Paul. We cannot continue to grow. The V cannot rise without your support. So we want to thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. And we are about to relaunch our tiers. It is June 1st as of this recording, so the update should be out within the next couple of days, depending on when you're listening to this. It might already be done. But please be excited for that. And of course, if you support us at $1, you get into our VIP Discord and you get bonus episodes. All right. It's time for rapid fire. Now, I actually wrote down questions because there were certain things I want to know about you. So we're going to ask questions and we're going to get to know you. from
Taylor?
deep from
Oh.
deep down.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. I'm gonna ask the first question. I'll start us off.
Go for it.
Sure.
What's your D&D class?
My
Oh, shit.
D&D class?
Yeah.
That's really tough.
What's your
Because I
go-to?
bounce around a lot. I think wizard. Probably wizard.
Mhm.
Like flexibility.
I was gonna ask that. You go, Andy.
You are coming out of your crypt, your noble vampire ass self, with your vampire head ass, and there is a stake plunged into your heart, and you look up. Whose face do you see?
Most people are not gonna know who this is, but his name is Andreas. It's not you.
Oh shit! I was gonna say I just fucking met you.
I thought that was a
Yeah,
callback
no.
to the Reddit post.
No.
The Reddit comment. Who the hell are you, Andreas?
I look up and I
Not
say,
many
"Who the
people
hell
are gonna
you?"
know this person because it's you.
Yeah. No. It was he's one of our 3D artists. I think he's secretly trying to kill me.
That's fair. That's
He's
fair.
got a fine name, by the way. Let him know.
Okay, I will.
He's got a great name.
I love that.
Taylor.
Who's your Gen 1 Pokemon starter?
Oh, Charmander for sure.
If not vampires, then what?
In terms of what? If not vampires, probably mummies. I feel like mummies don't get a lot of play.
M Rising. You heard it here
Rising.
first, folks.
Yeah.
Huge expansion coming 2024.
Trying to think, if you could like have a Sophie's Choice collaboration with this game, who would you pick? Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Ooh.
or like
Twilight.
a Bram Stoker's Dracula, like classic OG.
The thing is, like, we're already kind of classic OG, so
Right.
I'd probably go Buffy.
Go Buffy.
Also, I just like Buffy.
Of course. Who doesn't love Buffy?
Some people.
I mean,
Steve,
bad
do another
taste.
one.
Okay.
You wrote some down, so you're ready.
Cake or pie?
Cake or pie? Probably pie.
Pie is
You-
good. Pie is
Are
good.
you a dog person or a cat person?
Cat person. I have 3 cats. When my wife had 2 cats, I had 1 cat when we moved in, and I'm just like in debt. 3 cats is too many cats. You shouldn't have this many.
3 cats is the top amount of cats you should have, in my
Yeah.
opinion. And I've had 4 at one
Yeah.
point, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just chaos.
You should have roughly as many cats as people tops.
Mm.
And then also, yeah. If one of them passes on, I hope they never do. I hope they live forever. But if one of them passes on, we're not getting another one.
Would you rather be a reverse merman or a reverse centaur?
So like a reverse.
It's the top half.
Yeah.
I love
So-
when it finally hits.
It's like
when like
the
the
center. Well, for some reason I went Minotaur. I'm like, but wait, for the Minotaur, which half is the person? I think I would probably go reverse centaur, because then I could breathe on land.
It's true.
That's true, and you wouldn't have a giant fish face.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, that was the big pro. I think being a horrifying fish monster would be awesome, but not being able to breathe on land would suck. And you just be walking around with a big fish head and a naked butt. It's bad.
What's that horse character? BJ Horseman or whatever the fuck? That's like a cartoon
BoJack
character.
Horseman?
BoJack, yeah.
BoJack.
That show that everyone's trying to get me to watch, and I just never will.
Yeah,
If
you could,
enough.
Because people are asking you.
that could be like a
If you hit
forever
a critical
cosplay.
mass of people asking you to watch something, you can't watch it.
You don't.
No, you
Yeah,
can't.
yeah.
Absolutely
I'm
not.
never going to see JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and I'm never going to see BoJack Horseman.
I'm never gonna
That's-
watch Squid
that's what-
Game.
I was glad that Taylor only talked about vrising a little bit before I got into it. It was like, guys, this game is awesome. Great, stop talking. I'll play it. That's all I need. That's all I need. Don't ruin it for me, other people.
By wanting me to enjoy the thing that you love.
Yeah, exactly. God damn it.
Jeremy,
go ahead.
what's your favorite game of all time?
Oh,
My favorite game of all time. That's really tough. I've had to actually think about that one a few times recently. And I don't know. I can't think past like recent things I've done because I have a very small brain. So I think I really, really enjoyed Elden Ring. But before that, I really, really enjoyed what was the last thing I was playing before that? Yeah, see, my brain's too small.
I mean, still Elden
is a
Ring.
totally valid
That's a
Yeah,
very
Elden
good
Ring's
answer.
It was just such a good game.
Elden
Yeah,
Ring is big,
it's
awesome.
a good ass game.
When you're in games, especially, the amount of times you hear people talking about like, oh, like we should definitely like this game mechanic, blah blah blah, super interesting. Like in Elden Ring, when they did, like, it's almost impossible not to reference the game when you're talking about.
It's
anything.
exactly like what the last 3 years were before Elden Ring with Breath of the Wild. Like, shut up about Breath of the Wild. I don't want to hear about Breath of the Wild anymore. Games did this shit before Breath of the Wild. There was a world before Breath of the Wild, people. Anyway, I'm sorry. You could tell I didn't like that game. Okay.
Well, if you ever want to try it again, it will always be $60.
Yeah, it'll always be. I have it. I own it. It's there. It's somewhere on my shelf. All right, so I'm going to ask one more. Andy will ask one more. And then Taylor, you're going to take us home with the final ceremonial question.
Oh, good Lord.
Okay. My last question is, would you rather have the ability to teleport or time travel?
Definitely teleport. Time travel, like there's no way you wouldn't. So like if you time travel, you're either going to mess something up for sure. Or you're gonna end up in some like alternate reality and I'm like my wife is gonna be like a different wife from like this time. It's a mess. Nobody has ever done time travel well in any medium, and teleportation rocks. Getting places faster. I already need to lose weight, so that would be bad for me. But but teleportation would be cool.
I'm gonna correct you for a hot second, Jeremy.
Okay, yeah. Which thing do you think did time travel well?
Something did time travel exceptionally well, and it was a vampire series called Legacy of Kain.
Oh, okay.
That game fucking nailed time travel. And on that note, can you get the rights and make a Legacy of Kain multiplayer game that actually does not
just
suck
get a Legacy of Kain DLC could be good.
Listen,
like a little pack.
Why not?
A little art pack.
Why not?
What's really awesome about Legacy of Kain is when we put out, I don't know if anyone in our studio has played Legacy of Kain, and they put out like when we put out like our first like gameplay trailer, everyone was like, "Oh my god, this is just like Legacy of Kain," and then we're like, what is that? And then we started like looking it up, and our like art director looked up their like blood drinking animation, and they're like, this is the exact same blood drinking animation that we did. How did this happen?
Accidental plagiarism.
Yeah,
right.
Just like I guess it did do time travel well because it echoed through time into the brain of our art director.
It did. All right. So this is different than what is your favorite game. If you could pick a game that you could wipe from your memory and play again for the first time, what game would that be?
That is actually really tough because there are a few games that I like really love that I would love to be able to experience again. If I want to go just the most recent thing that pops back into my brain, Inscription.
Oh, dude,
such a great experience the first time.
That is
like you never get that experience.
A top tier selection.
It was so good.
As you know, fellow indie game lovers here, that is some good shit.
Yeah, I'm sure I have some other deeper cuts.
No, you keep it there.
I'm gonna stick with just the recent.
I fucking adore that answer. You have no idea.
I'm happy to connect with you on this.
That game needs a lot more love. It got a lot of love, but just hearing it being breathed into the world from someone's mouth makes me very happy.
Okay. Our final ceremonial question. This is the most important question we ask the entire podcast. You have to answer immediately. Don't think about it. Just go with your heart.
Okay.
And the question is, Steven, Andy, or Taylor?
Taylor, hands down.
Fuck yeah. I want you to know, this is my second time on the podcast. I'm 2 for 2.
I was worried about this shit, Steven.
I'm 2 for 2. I'm so cool. I'm so special.
I've got my third episode next week. We'll see how.
No,
that
you ain't doing
goes,
shit
but-
next week, dude. You're off that show.
Before you unseat them from their
We've
own
already done it.
podcast.
Sorry, we recorded an hour ago.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to bring us to the end of the show. If you want to follow us on social media, we're at duel_screens. I'm at Batchild27. Andy's at Bantsguy. Taylor is at It's Purger. Our Facebook group is facebook.com/groups/DS podcasts. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, you go to patreon.com/NDS podcast and you can join our Discord for as little as $1. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/dualscreens.tv. Our twitch.tv/dualscreens streams. And you can go to dualscreens.com for all of your Dual Screens content. And I do want to plug, including
the article that I wrote,
indeed,
titled "I hate survival games but love vrising."
and that is 100% true. And you could buy some new merch if you go to dualscreens.com/store. We have some really cool designs up there. Some gaming indie gaming love shirts up there right now. So if you like indie gaming and you want to tell people about it, check out our store. All right, Jeremy, where could everybody find you? Where could everybody find the team and all that fun stuff? We will have links in the show description, but tell people who are lazy.
Yeah, I'm at Jeremy Bearson on Twitter. Don't follow me. I don't do anything on there.
That's fair.
For our Twitter for the studio, though, we're at Stunlock Studios, at vrising game. Definitely follow us at vrising game because we are constantly posting stuff there. And yeah, wishlist or buy our cool game on Steam, vrising. It's awesome. People have been telling me. Check it out.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, viewers. And as always, please be excellent to each other.